they hate. And I know better than to listen to the people who are calling us slaves. I can feel the sunlight shining.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name's Brian, and today is Tuesday, May 21st, 2024, and this is episode 702 of the Lots Project podcast, and it's titled Farewell, Pookie Bear. Gonna be a rough one, guys. Gonna be a rough one. I don't know how long I'll be able to be here, but I thought I would sign on and try to share some memories of our boy and start the healing process, but we'll see how it goes. First thing I need to do, though, is let you guys know a happy day today is actually Corey and I's 8th anniversary. So happy anniversary to my beautiful wife who's out there listening to this and probably in the same condition I am. All right. All right. Thanks, guys. I want to thank all you guys for all the thoughts and comments too. That makes it so much easier. So much easier. Kind of easy. Not easy in the easy way, but easy to share the memories and talk about him and think about him. So Jim says fastest bathroom break in podcasting. Yeah. Might be a couple bathroom breaks today. You never know. Let's see who's hanging out this morning. I appreciate you guys swinging in. Pip, good morning. Cheers and good morning, humans. Rewild Their Life says good morning, and a great photo of him. Yeah, you guys don't even understand the amount of photos and videos we have of Walter, so that's always a good thing. Jim, good morning. Great pick. I appreciate it. Pickle Pete, thanks for stopping in here. Hunter over on Twitch, as always. Thanks, guys. Hanging Laundry, good morning. K-Bonk, thanks for swinging in. Oh, man. Whew. Man, it's been a rough one, guys. I'm not going to lie. I think we decided to do this to made the decision that we had to put Walter down on Friday. It's been a long time. Like, we've known this is going to happen at some point. We were hoping that it wasn't going to be this soon at 4.5, but it's something that we've had an eye on since we were a puppy. He's just had some moments that make you realize there's something not quite right. And as it progressed and as it evolved, we're pretty sure that he had a little bit of dementia or some sort of neurological problem. And there were some changes in him that we couldn't ignore, that we couldn't explain away. And so we had to make that decision. Never an easy one, especially when they're that young. So, so this weekend we got to spend the weekend with our boy, and we tried to make the best of it. It's hard because Walter basically slept 70% of his life, 80% of his life or more. That's where you could find him, was sleeping, if nothing else. But he has had a incredible life, and I wanted to kind of talk about that and share with you guys what you might, depending on when you caught up with us and when you started listening to the show and how you came to us, what avenue you found the show through, you might know quite a bit about him. But in 4.5 years, that dog has, he's lived a life for sure. He's definitely had some adventures. He's had probably more adventures than a lot of humans have in their whole life in his 4.5 years. So just want to kind of, with Corey and I, obviously over the last 3 days, 4 days, 5 days have been sharing our thoughts on him, trying to grieve, trying to process. And before he was gone, share memories with him and talk to him. And so I just started jotting them down, and we'll see what we can get through here. I'm still kind of a mess. You wouldn't think it by the way I talked about him on the show quite a bit, but yeah, he was my big baby. Not quite as much as Corey, but definitely had a spot in my heart, and I think that just comes with the Saint Bernard breed too. So, good morning, Mike's Homestead and Cormac. Thanks for stopping. Yeah. So, Walter, how did we get a big old Saint Bernard? We were German Shepherd. Excuse me, guys. Can't do this. Saint Bernard. How did we get a Saint Bernard? So we moved to our farm. When we moved to the farm, we had 2 dogs. We had 2 German Shepherds. We had our boy Remington, who was, he was a incredible dog. The picture perfect German Shepherd, and we had his little brother Ruger, who was not quite the picture perfect German Shepherd. He had some medical issues. He also died young. Not as young as Walter. We thought he was a little bit younger, but he wasn't. He was 7, I think, is what he ended up being, which wasn't too terribly young, but he had some jaw, teeth, structural issues in his mouth that were causing him a lot of pain. We ended up having to make the decision to put him down, and we made the wrong decision, really, in delaying doing that. When we made the decision, it was right before Thanksgiving. We had to we decided to wait till after the holidays to put him down. Once we made that decision, we went through the holidays. The vet prescribed him pain meds. He kind of made it through. It was horrible. I never suggest anybody doing that. Getting it, once you've made that decision, getting it over sooner rather than later. But we didn't know better. We do now. We in the meantime, so that was like a month and a half that we dealt with that. In the meantime, we decided we were going to get another dog. Our theory, and it's playing out true at this point, is to have more than one, to have more than one in the house. So if something happens to one, you got plenty to come home and hug. And so we started searching, and we weren't really sure what we wanted. We didn't want another shepherd. The breeder that we had gotten Remington from, that we had gotten Ruger from, Remington's father had died tragically. We weren't able to get those same bloodlines, and we kind of wanted to change it up with the dog. A friend of ours had recently got a Saint Bernard puppy. That was his second, right? He had one prior, Ben.
Oh, yeah, Daisy, yeah.
Daisy had just gotten that puppy though too. And so we were talking to him about the dog, and that they slept 80% of the time, that they were just big lugs and really slowed your life down. And the fact that we had moved to the farm, the fact that we were trying to slow our life down and be more intentional, it kind of fit. And so we started looking, and we found Walter. And yeah, the minute Corey picked him, we knew he was going to be beautiful. Not as beautiful as he turned out, but yeah, there was something about him. Very photogenic, even from his puppy photos, even from the photos that the breeder was sending us. And as we were getting him, we decided, I think before even we brought him home, that we were going to do some social media of some sort for him. He was born the beginning of December 2019. We ended up picking him up the end of January, I believe, end of January 2020. If you know what was going on around the end of January 2020 into spring of 2020, it was a rough time. It was definitely a rough time in the country, in the world. There were a lot of tensions, a lot of sad people, a lot of scared people, a lot of people fighting, a lot of bullshit. Walter was a safe space for that. Corey really took hold of the social media, and every day, pretty much every day, 7 days a week, she went on an adventure with Walter, documented it, Walter in Remington, and then after Remington, we ended up having to tragically put him down because of some cancer. We got the other two boys, but every day for, man, it was probably 3 years, 2 solid, going into 3 years, every day, Corey posted 10 photos, a story. She lived Walter's life through her eyes. Wait, she told Walter's story through his eyes. And it took off. To date, I think he has like 12,000 followers on Instagram and 320, like 2,200 or 2,800, something like that on Facebook. He's got TikTok. It's him and the 3 boys, Baby Walter and company. And man, the people that latched on, the messages that we got on a daily basis were unbelievable. People letting us know that Walter was getting them through things like this with their pets, with their saints, with their family members, with all the COVID bullshit. He was neutral. He had nothing to do with that. And he was beautiful. And the stories Corey told with him and the things they got to do were just precious. So yeah, that's the documentation we have of that dog. We have, I think we figured out between the puppies, the 2 younger ones, and Walter, we have over 500 gigabytes of video, photos, and then like the whole history of his social media, which will continue in some capacity because we were wise enough to know that dogs don't live forever, and kind of set that up to be Baby Walter and company. And as we progress, hopefully we'll do a little bit with the other boys, since they'll be having such new adventures going forward. But yeah, so he was a safe place for people. He was something that they looked forward to every day, that was happy, that was not scary, that was not political, that was not it wasn't super charged up. And the personal messages, the private messages we got because she was doing that meant so much. He got gifts in the mail. People sent him stuff. People made him items. He had a custom leather collar made by a coworker of mine. He had fans of his off the internet sending him bandanas and treats and toys and all sorts of things. He was very loved, and he spread quite a bit of love. And in that, I think it spurred Corey to keep him active, not keep him active like he wasn't old and decrepit and they couldn't do anything. He was keeping active, but she did stuff with him on a daily basis. She interacted with him on a daily basis. She fell in love with him again every day. And it's as hard as it is for me with this. I can't even imagine what she's going through. I can. She's sitting here. I see her. But I realize how I feel about it, and I don't know. That's It's a whole different level. It's a whole different level. And I told her yesterday that it's her fault that I'm like this right now, because before I met her, this was never, dogs never meant this much to me. Seeing her interact with these boys, seeing her, the love she has for them is unreal. So I appreciate that. And yeah, so that's how we got Walter. He definitely slowed us down. He definitely taught us a lot. He definitely was love and hate do not describe it. He was a difficult for me to deal with, and I struggled with that a lot over the last couple days. But in the end, it is what it is. It is what it is. You try to learn from them. Corey told me, as long as I learn something and do better next time, that's all that matters. So that's what I got to do. He definitely taught us to slow down. One of the things we noticed about Walter since he was a puppy was he would slow down and take a look at a scenery, at a scene, at a view, at just nature in general. What's that? Oh, smell the flowers. Corey was sharing a picture with me this weekend of it was a selfie with her and Walter and some daisies in the background, and she said, and the fact that she remembers this shows you how focused she was on what she was doing. You can take pictures of a dog all day long. You can love them, you can be around them, but to tell me that the reason they took that picture 4 years ago was because Walter lay down in the field and was sniffing the flowers on their walk. Like, she didn't stage that photo. He just decided it was time to lay down and smell some daisies. She just got unbelievable pictures with him. He definitely taught me to slow down. Throughout the time we were on the farm, I noticed it a little bit. I didn't spend as much time with him. I was always working. Corey's been the main dog caregiver for quite a while, but as we like forever, they're her babies. And they're our kids. They're our kids. They're with us every day. They're here. We take care of them. They can't take care of themselves. Like, they don't grow up to take care of themselves like a kid does. So it's from day one till the end. And so he taught me that, not so much on the farm, but when we hit the road, when we went on our trips to begin, before we took off permanently, and then since we've been on the road, I really think that's really set in, is something that he taught me. I think the biggest transition was after I talked about it on episode 700, was I had a blowout, lost a job, had our house sale and everything blow through and all of that. And after I lost the job, and in the interim between the time we did that and the time we left, so I was home on the farm, I really latched on and took care of the dogs. When I've been available, when it's made sense, I've really taken over trying to take care of them so Corey can get a break. And I would take the boys for walks in the morning. And spending that time with Walter on the couple weeks and going out and watching the sunrise with him, and him sitting down. I went out intentionally to watch the sunrise to kind of start the day. And he would come and sit next to me and watch it. And that was not unusual for him. That wasn't something he was doing because of me. It was something that he was doing because he enjoyed it. So knowing that, observing that, and slowing down, I think was one of the biggest things that I took from him. Another thing that I think that I worked on, I did not quite achieve Zen, I guess, or achieve patience. But Walter definitely got me to work on my patience. I'm getting there, and promised him yesterday that I would keep it up. And we got a couple here still in the house that that will probably test it too. Rachel Rewilder Life says it's why we have two. And what Brian said, losing one big lab gutted us, and it took us 4 years to get another dog because we knew we'd outlive the next. Yeah. Oh man, it's so hard to think about to think about that. And somebody posted it in the group that I think a couple people actually, that they're your best friend for their whole life. Wait, you're their best friend for their whole life, but they're only your best friend for a part of your life. So it's yeah, it's important. Another time that kind of sticks out, our first road trip in the camper. It was something that we had decided we were going to do. We decided to do it with Walter and the two other enormous dogs that we had them. We knew we were going to make it work. We knew we had to make it work. We designed what we bought and how we built it, and everything about our decision-making process included our boys, because that wasn't a question of if that was going to work. It was going to be how it was going to work. And so we made it happen. Like, you have to figure out how you're going to make money. You have to figure out how you're going to get rid of your gray water and your black water and things like that. But the other thing is, we just had to figure out how we were going to have our three enormous dogs with us. Oh, by the way, if you're noticing the mug, if you're noticing the different mug, one of our incidents that kind of solidified the decision we had to make involved Walter under our kitchen table and deciding that he was going to go and interact with one of the other boys, and decided to flip the table pretty much over. And I lost my Toolman Tim mug. It's something that I've had, I think, pretty close to the beginning. No, never mind. I got that on our first trip to SRF. So about halfway through the show, I would think. But every morning, it was a home for Plugsy. It was my go-to coffee cup. I have another one on the way. Not Toolman Tim. We'll have a new one. We'll have a new one on the way. It'll be here when we are. But yeah, that was kind of fitting. I think it was fitting. So we lost a bunch of stuff off the table, and then we started making some decisions, and it was verified that the decision was the right one later that evening. So regardless, when we figured out that we were going to go on the road, we kind of made sure everything was going to work for the dogs. We took a test run. We took a test run out to Seattle to see Brian Norton and go to Squatch Fest. It was an interesting trip. We really took our time getting out there. We traveled. It was the first time the boys were traveling more than, like, to the cities. I would say like 90 minutes, couple hour trip was about the biggest they had. And we were going to go on a road trip to Seattle with 3 stops on the way. I think 4 stops on the way, 4 stops on the way back, and a week at a property out there that Brian owns. So we took off, and it was interesting. They did really well. I think they were up for the adventure. I think they didn't mind riding in the truck. I retrofitted the back of our truck to put a platform back there. They could all sleep together. They all interacted fantastic. They were brothers and lovers, and they had the best time together. Walter was always a little bit of a grumpopotamus. He always gave them a little bit of warning to when it was getting too much, when he didn't want to play. And so we took off and we went out to Seattle. One of the memorable things from that trip actually was a stop in North Dakota. We ended up randomly finding a state land. I believe it was a state land that we weren't planning on staying at. Just where we were going to stay fell through. And we ended up finding this fantastic spot it was on the edge of a reservoir, and we sat up on this hill, and it was a huge long reservoir. You could see forever. The sunset was right there, the sunrise was right there. It was wide open. And so we parked, we got set up, and a lot of times, because they were so big, we would walk them separate, sometimes individually, sometimes the younger two together. And when we took off for this trip, the younger ones were still pretty much puppies, 6 months old maybe that fall, because we got them in January, February. They were pushing a year maybe, not quite. So Corey took them on a walk by themselves, and I said I would keep an eye on Walter. We had a system set up where we had cables tied to the tow hooks on our truck. Walter had a harness on. I hooked him up. I was just still getting set up. I was doing some routine maintenance, checking the solar panels, things like that, bopping around. And I was in the camper, and Corey took off with the other dogs. And all of a sudden I heard this big pop and a bang. And I was like, what the hell was that? And so I go outside, or I go to the door, and I look, and there's Walter just sitting a little way from the camper, a little ways. And I look, and he's just sitting there watching, and Mom and the other two boys walk away. And I look down, and his lead is there. The cable is there with the ring from his harness just sitting on the ground. And I was like, wait, what? And I run out, and he's just sitting there, and he looks up at me with his stupid face. And I grab his harness, and I was like, what did you do? I put a lead on him. And I looked, and he apparently wanted to go for a walk with his mom and his brother so much that he started running to follow them once he saw where they were. And the dog had enough force to rip the D-ring right off the back of his harness. He was a big, big, strong boy, for sure. I don't think people realize what a 165-pound dog is. I don't think they realize how big that is. I don't think people say, and I know there's plenty of people that have had big dogs, and I know there's plenty of people that have giant breed dogs, and unless you've interacted with one, unless you've lived with one, unless you've shared a space with one, you have no idea. They're just it's a different ball game with them, both on the dealing with the size and all the stuff that comes with it, but also the heart. They're like larger than life. They really are. He made it easy to make him stand out. And that was another thing. Every single time we stopped for gas, at a gas station, anywhere we were walking them, the smiles that he caused for unknown strangers that we never even know about, because everybody would point and laugh, or not laugh, point and laugh, point and smile, point and wave. Maybe they were laughing. They would stop and say something, but it's heartwarming to know how many people he made smile just by existing. Another thing from that South Dakota stop where he ripped the D-ring off his harness was, we look out at one point, and we look over at Walter, and I mentioned how he would stop and observe nature. And we look over and he is just sitting there totally content, sitting on his butt, like sitting up perfectly. I think Corey has pictures of him doing it, but just observing the reservoir, observing the beautiful view that we had. And we did. It was like breathtaking view. But Walter found it. Walter walked over and sat down and took the time to enjoy it. So yeah, that was a great stop. The whole trip was fantastic. We got out to Seattle. They were good boys while we were there, as good as can be expected for puppies in a camper, and their parents trying to enjoy time with people. And yeah, it was a good trip. When we were leaving that trip, we had an interesting experience. Yeah, that was when we had Poopapalooza. I don't know if any of you guys know what Poopapalooza is, but Poopapalooza was all because of Walter. Poopapalooza was you can go see the videos. I'm pretty sure they're on YouTube, on TikTok, a couple other places. But Poopapalooza was was that the second day on the way back? Because we had just no, we're going through Spokane, so it would have been the second day. We left Washington and we stopped overnight. We got up the next morning, we walked them, and got in the truck and we started driving. One thing about Walter in the truck, we called it bear conditioning. We had to have the air conditioning on high if Walter was in the truck. He didn't like the windows. I mean, he loved the windows. He loved sticking his head out the window and his big gums and his ears flapping, things like that. But he always wanted the air conditioning on. Like, we needed to wear sweatshirts in the truck. I don't know, truck's different. Like, you're in a car, you got the vents in the back and everything. A pickup truck, a 4-door pickup truck with the air conditioning on max. And literally, if it wasn't on max, he would wake up and start huffing and puffing. He would act ridiculous and make your life miserable until we turn the air conditioning back up. If we were back on the road much more, it was something that I was engineering on the way back from Texas to Tennessee, but we haven't traveled much since. I was going to rig up a system to blow the freaking air conditioning in the back of the truck instead of the front of the truck, because it was like an ice box. That was our bear conditioning. He got it yesterday. We knew from the time we put him in the car that the air conditioning had to be on 100%, even though he didn't need it. It wasn't too warm. He enjoyed that. So when we were going through and on our way to Spokane, we hadn't really come to grips with the fact that we were just going to have to suffer with the air conditioning with the dog. It was kind of a chillier day. It didn't necessarily need to be on yet. We hadn't been rolling too long, and so we were just like, Walter, settle down. We turn it up and we turn it down when we got a little frozen, and we're like, Walter, settle down. And he huff and he puff, and yeah, all of a sudden, it wasn't the fact that he needed air conditioning. It was the fact that he needed to have just massive amounts of diarrhea. He was sick, not sick. He had an upset stomach. He had eaten something he really shouldn't have. That's one thing about St. Bernards. They don't have very good stomachs. Our house has been full of cleaning up puke and all sorts of fun stuff since he was a puppy. He definitely has a reactive stomach. And he proceeded to basically not be able to hold it any longer as we were driving our F-250 Super Duty and 32-foot camper through downtown Spokane, where the highway goes through Spokane, with nowhere to go. As he decided to poop all over his brothers, as he couldn't stop, and like, we didn't blame him, we weren't mad at him, like, it was our fault we didn't stop, but it was one of the most horrific experiences of my life. You can listen, like, thank God we had the dash cam on, and we're able to record the audio, because at one point we were just laughing and gagging. Corey was laughing hysterically. I was gagging, and it was, yeah, it was everywhere. I definitely mentioned that in the audio. So we had to roll through Spokane. We finally, I mean, Corey was new to pulling a trailer. Before we took off on this trip, Corey had never pulled once. We took it to get gas. We took it to get gas and weigh the camper. We took one trip with it, and then drove to Seattle through the Rockies. She drove the whole way. Corey is our driver. She's not a good rider in a vehicle. So she was relatively new. Let's say she had under 40 hours of driving under her belt, and she's making her way through Spokane, trying to find a place to get over in traffic with a 32-foot trailer behind her, trying to find a spot to go where we can park and clean our truck out. And luckily we had our water tank in our camper, had water in it, and we have an outdoor shower attached to the camper, and we were able to find a church parking lot on a Tuesday and wash our dogs in the parking lot, clean out the back seat, and make our way home. And it was always an adventure with these guys. Oh, man. So that was one. I mean, this list is just it's unbelievable, guys. I tried to put it in some sort of order. There is no order when it comes to Walter. Back when he was a puppy, let's see. So back on the farm, that dog, he was a riot. He definitely had his quirks. He had his idiosyncrasies. His favorite place to sleep was in the bathtub at our farm. He proceeded to dig a hole in our bathtub through the enamel coating of the bathtub, both on the base and on the sides. He would crawl into the bathtub and try to make it comfortable like you would a dog bed. So he would dig, and we could hear it from the other room, and we would yell at him, and then you would hear him flop down. He would flop down in there, and he would sleep for hours. These dogs, we were lucky that we got warned beforehand that they slept so much, and also that they drank so much water, because it was true. And Walter was the extreme with the water, with the sleep. I think he was the extreme. So he would scratch in the bathtub, he would lay down, and then later during his nap, he would have dreams, and he literally scratched the same mark on the side of the bathtub where he would lay down and kind of bat his feet. He wanted to be in the bathtub. If we left the shower door closed, like if we closed the shower door and he couldn't get in there, he would come and bug us to get in. When we finally couldn't have him dig a hole through the bottom of our bathtub and we kept the shower closed, he dug a hole in our floor in our bathroom, doing the same thing, scratching to make a place to lay. But he didn't want to lay on a blanket. He was too hot. He had the thickest, most lush fur you'd ever find, and he was very warm. He never liked blankets. He rarely liked to cuddle. As much of a big fluff ball as he was, you had to force him to cuddle. You had to force him to give a hug because he was just hot. He would come and say goodnight to Corey. He would lay down next to her for 30 seconds, a minute maybe, and then he was gone every night. Like he would act like he was going to come up and lay and go to sleep with her, and gone because he got warm. So, yeah, we had scratch marks all over our bathroom from our dog wanting to take naps on the floor and dig and find the cool spot. He would sleep in the bathroom. He would wake up and try to find out if he could nap more. We would be sitting in our living room, and you could see kind of through our living room, through our kitchen door, and then there was a hallway that went down to our bathroom. And he would pop out and he would kind of come just so you could barely see his little face around the corner, and he would look at us to make sure we were there, and then he would turn around and jump back in the bathtub and go to bed. Just making sure we didn't leave him. Just checking out where his brother was. It was probably one of the cutest things you'd ever see. And yeah, he would do that. He would do that outside when he didn't want to come in. We had some acreage fenced in for him, and he would go out after he lost his brother, and he'd be by himself, and he would go wander around. He never really went far from the front door. He would go do his rounds, and then he would come back, and he would like peek in the door. He would like be below the door, kind of hunched down. And he'd peek in the door and see if we were in there watching him, and then he would lay down on our front porch. He would just like plop down and lay down and want to stay outside. The dog would go lay in a snowbank at -20 and not want to come inside. He wanted to be outside in the cold. Hopefully somewhere now on a snowbank somewhere. Rewilder Life says he liked a cold tub. He liked a cold anything. Really, he did. So that was that. The dog was so photogenic. He was the biggest ham in the world. If Corey got her phone out, he thought he was getting his picture taken. Probably through routine, since I said she took hundreds of pictures of him a day. Some of the most unbelievably stunning pictures I've ever seen. Man, she did good. Between Remington and Walter, when we had those together, they really, and I know that you are biased towards your own dogs. I know that everybody thinks their dog is the most beautiful. These two dogs were stunning dogs. Mine are not. Our shepherd was picturesque, to say the least. And then Walter on top. And photoing them together, I think, made it easy for Corey to get good at photography. But the more pictures she took, the better she got. And to be able to look at those, like people commented about the picture in the thumbnail. Corey told me, no, that was just a random picture in the field. That's not even on her top 100 list, I would say, of photos that she loves. This weekend we were going through a bunch of stuff, and she's just sending me photo upon photo upon photo. It definitely shows what he meant to her, for sure. Yeah. When he was a puppy, he went everywhere. He definitely went everywhere. We tried to socialize him as much as possible. Like I said, we got him right in the beginning of COVID. He never got to take puppy classes. What do you got going on? Corey's over in the other room. She was going to join me this morning, but the room is tough. She's going to come and say hi, I'd say. She loves you guys too. She also says thanks for all the kind words and well wishes. But took him everywhere. The guys at the service station that we got our car serviced at, they fell in love with him. They requested he come every time that we got our car worked on. And if you don't know Corey, if you don't know about Corey and her idiosyncrasies, I would say, she definitely gets her car fixed a lot. I've never met anyone that has their car in the auto body shop and the mechanic shop more than my beautiful bride. But that gave her the opportunity to bring baby Walter with her, and those guys absolutely fell in love with him. What's that? Oh, and girls for sure. Always wanting to see him, always asking, like if she brought him, a lot of the time she would take our car up, and we had multiple vehicles. I had a work van for a bunch of it. And we were able to leave our vehicle there a lot. So Corey got in the habit of taking the vehicle up and then walking the dog home. It was about a mile from our house. And so she would walk him home and take another adventure. And that's what his life was. We tried to, or I tried to go over it and just think of any dog that I had, even Remington, even our shepherd, I don't think experienced a fraction of what Walter did in his life. Smells, views, places, time spent with people that just loved him more than anything. Sucks. It sucks that it was only 4.5 years. And yeah, I'm just glad we have the other two to help us through it. So yeah, as a puppy, just everywhere. Let me see what else I got in here. His bear curtains. This dog had the biggest jowls, the biggest, thickest, softest, squishiest jowls that you would ever see on a dog. You don't think you would walk up to a 165-pound dog and grab his lips and just flap him or squeeze him or pull him or kiss him or whatever. But he was okay with it. Yeah. He was definitely okay with it. When one thing that we really have never had another dog that was like this. Remington didn't mind salad, did he? Just the tomato he stole off the table. Our old I know this is about Walter, but our old shepherd Remington, we had when we had him and Ruger, our other shepherd, we were pretty sure they were so well behaved. Both of them were super well behaved, but Remington was like very, very well behaved. And we had somebody getting on the table when we would leave. Never when we were there, never when we were in the house, but we would go down to do chores and we'd come back up and you could tell somebody had like jumped up on the table, not on the table, but had gotten into the table. And so one day we set up a phone camera and we put it on video and we walked down to do chores and we came back and we watched the video and we were both positive it was Ruger. We were positive it was the younger one getting into stuff. And what we saw really surprised us. Our shepherd walked over as soon as, like, we literally counted on the video how long it would have taken us to walk to the door. And I'm pretty sure we could hear the door shut in the background. And we couldn't have been off the porch yet. And here came Remington, pops up on the table, front legs on the table, reaches over, and he's looking in the camera just like me. And he reaches over and you see his big ears because his ears stuck up. He had cropped ears that stuck up. And he comes back up like this. And as soon as his face framed in the picture is zoomed in, and he had a cherry tomato in the front teeth, in his little tiny front dog teeth. He had it in his front teeth. And he jumps down and just walks away. And we were like, that little son of a bitch. He jumped up on there, picked a tomato, and I'm still not convinced that it wasn't Ruger getting into the stuff on the table, but he was slick enough to get up there and just pick a cherry tomato out and chomp that thing down. But one thing that Walter loved to do, I installed one of Jack Spirko's vertical hydroponic gardens in our kitchen in the farm. So every Sunday I would clean it out. What we didn't eat from that week's harvest, what we were going to give to the chickens, our final harvest, all our rotation. I don't know if you guys know what that garden is, but it's a weekly rotation. And so I would take all the stuff. I would take the net pots and I would take the whole thing and I would just throw them in a bus tub that we had. And I would then take them down to the chickens. All of a sudden one day I'm doing that. I'm just throwing it and plotting through it as quick as I could, get the chores done on Sunday. And Corey's like, "Where did you get that lettuce?" And I was like, I don't know what's going on here. All of a sudden I see Walter. He was a puppy at the time, came plopping back into the kitchen, puts his head in the tote as I'm actually watching him now, puts his head in the bus tub, grabs another big old thing of lettuce and walks out and drops it on the floor. Looks at it for a couple seconds, comes back in, grabs another one, pulls it out, drops it on the floor, lays down, proceeds to chew on our floor salad. The dog liked vegetables. He would sit there and chew on it. Never really ate it all up. He would always take more than he wanted. But routinely then would start taking out salad when I was cleaning it out, to the point where if we left the curtains open on the system, we had curtains around it to shield the light. He would go and stick his head in the curtains and grab his own salad when he wanted it. So yeah, we had a big old Saint Bernard that loved to grab lettuce, loved to lay on the floor and eat lettuce, and man, it was a trip. The dog was definitely a trip. Let's see. Some of the things you deal with. Would I suggest that you get a Saint Bernard? Would I suggest you get a Saint Bernard? I look over at my wife, who's over there, absolutely devastated, absolutely heartbroken, and it's because of this Saint Bernard. And she's saying no. Corey would get another one, I guess. Would I get another one? Probably not. Am I glad that I had one? Absolutely. Am I glad that I had that one? Oh, unbelievably. Was he a menace in my life? Every day. Every day. Corey and I were going through the things that you deal with because you love them. Man, 4 gallons, I think we came to the conclusion, 4.5 gallons of slobber. We have a slobber bucket. I don't think many people have a slobber bucket in their home. St. Bernards are droolers. They are definitely droolers. And what happens is when they drink their water, the drool goes right back. If you're lucky, the drool goes back into the bowl. So basically, you fill their bowl, they get half the bowl of water, and then they recycle slobber back in, and it fills up. You have to empty it. They will drink it, and they'll throw up all over the place. So you have the choice of cleaning it up either out of the bowl. Pickle Pea says snake plant slobber experiment. I haven't gotten into it. As soon as I went to do the snake plant experiments, the weather dropped, and then I just haven't gotten back to it. But so we came up with the solution, and we have the other Bernard. He doesn't slobber nearly as much. I think we're gonna reduce a lot of our work by more than a third. We realized over the weekend and talking about it and just going, and we knew it before, but I think Walter was more than a third of the work. I think Walter was definitely more than a third of the work, a third of the resources, a third of the time. And he deserved it. I mean, for what he was. But yeah, multiple times a day, multiple times a day, and even more towards the end here. Yeah, rinse out, dump out, rinse out, and collect the slobber. I suppose we could just toss it out the window, toss it out the door, but then it's just a big pile. So we collected it in a bucket. We collected it in a 3-gallon bucket. In the winter, that was a once a day empty. In the summer, it was at least once and a half, sometimes twice a day, depending on how hot it was. It was all over the floor, for sure. It was all over the floor. We've both almost hit the deck, sliding on slobber. Corey actually had a dedicated flashlight that she would take with her in the morning until she could get out to turn the light on as she shuffled across the floor, because Walter would eat at night and leave his slobber all over the floor for you to walk through and slip and slide across the linoleum. I'm I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna miss. I like, as much as I hated it, as much as the food all over the floor from getting in his jowls, and when Walter would take a bite of food, he would get a fraction of what he took into his mouth. I would say half or less, unless it was pizza. Unless it was pizza, half or less he'd get. The rest would end up on the floor. So walking across the floor, stepping on wet dog food, sliding on slobber was a daily occurrence here. I'm going to miss it, and I'm not. I am, but I'm not. He is our big slobberer as far as shaking his head and giving us what we referred to as bear showers. Norman's going to fill his shoes a little bit with that. I don't think we're totally going to miss that. Clyde does it a little bit when he's super hot or hungry or not feeling well. But Walter was our slobberer for sure. We'll have living memories of him until we get rid of this camper, because it's everywhere. It's on our ceilings, it's on our walls, it's on our photos, it's on everything. Hanging Laundry says a Mastiff owner called it liquid love once. It is everywhere, guys. Like, there's no keeping up with it because you don't even know where it is. He would shake his head so often, it would just go everywhere. So, yeah. Am I going to miss it? Absolutely. Am I going to miss going and going to the store? And one thing is, guys, it's kind of gross and off color. You'd never expect anything less from this show, but literally it looks like you have a huge sexual release on you. Slobber and that bodily fluid look a lot alike. So when you go to the store and you come back out and you look in the rearview mirror and you got a big old slinger, is what we call them, hanging out of his mouth. We call them slingers because they would go down and then he would sling them across the room. And you had one hanging across your hat or on your shoulder or in your beard. Yeah, that was our dog. That was our dog. You get some funny looks, but no one ever said anything. No one ever said anything. So, yeah, it's a lot. It was a lot to deal with. I think the more we dealt with, the more we loved him. The more we dealt with him, the more we loved him. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. So, you got anything else you wanted me to mention? Oh, yeah. So, on Friday, we decided that this was going to happen. Oh, I'm going to tell about the Saturday thing, too. So, we decided this was going to happen on Friday. Kind of Friday morning, we had the blowout where I lost my mug. There was something, I lost my mug. Corey tried to go to work. We both kind of knew internally what was going on. We knew individually the decision we were going to have to make, and it's not easy. It's really hard to pre-wildlife life, since it doesn't wash off walls easy either. It's like shellac, pretty much, and it all just had fur in it and all food chunks or whatever. Hunter says real quick, how are the boys taking it? Clyde looked for him quite a bit and continues to when he goes outside. Did he this morning? He's getting better. It's only been a day. Well, not even 24 hours. Norman is indifferent, I think. I don't know if you'd be able to tell if Norman was depressed, first of all. But he's been kind of indifferent to Walter the whole time, his whole life. They've kind of just they've lived in the same space. They played every once in a while, but they were never really close. Clyde and him, a different story. But Friday, we saw the writing on the wall. Like I said, this is something that Corey and I have discussed over the last 4.5 years. When you have a dog that size and it gets unpredictable, you can't risk it. You can't risk one of our other dogs being injured and having to do what we were going to have to do anyway, and then also have to deal with an injured or severely or terminally ill, hurt other dog. If anything ever happened to a dog or a cat or another human, we wouldn't be able to live with ourselves if we knew we needed to make this decision and we didn't. So yeah, Friday we kind of saw the writing on the wall. Corey decided to take the rest of the day off of work, and we were going to process a little bit. I had to go do groceries and laundry. She rode along with me. We kind of spent the day talking and not really thinking about it all that much. And then we had another incident when we came home. And it was still early enough we were able to call the vet. They were open, and we said, "Hey, are you guys open on Saturday?" They said, "Yeah, we are." We said, "Do you do euthanization on Saturday?" "Yes, we do." Do you guys work with a crematorium? Because obviously I'm not digging a hole for this dog. Well, not obviously. If I had a backhoe, I probably would. Digging a hole for our 30-pound, 25-pound cat was enough for me. I'm not digging one for a 165-pound dog. So we asked if they worked with a crematorium, and they said, yes, you can call these people. Walter is going to a human funeral home, and I'm not sure if that's because of his size or just who they work with. They were a pleasure to work with. The woman was very nice. But the only thing was, we said, "Are you open on Saturday? Do you do pickups on Saturday?" She said, "Well, we're not, but we can." It's an emergency fee, an after hours fee of $125. We're like, that's not bad. And she says, K-Bong says hugs from Carbon. So we said, okay, $125. Do you guys pick them up? And they said, nope, we'll have somebody meet you at the funeral home. And we said, okay, on Monday when you're open normally, do we have to drop him off? She says, nope, we'll come and pick him up. And I said, I just really can't pay an extra $125 to struggle to move him into the truck, a 165-pound deadweight animal, to transport him to the funeral home. So we took advantage of the last 2 days, and we spent the last 2 days with him. 2.5 days. It was horrific. It's back to like when we talked about spending the time with our dog that for over a month, pushing 2 months, when we had decided that we were going to put him down, and we waited. But the 2 days was great. It was a time to kind of reflect. I was an absolute disaster the whole time. Corey really held it together for the dog, because she knew how they would react. She did phenomenal. One thing that I made sure to do, it was my dead set goal. Bear is what we call him, Pookie Bear, Walter. His favorite thing was pizza. Just like me. It's like the one thing he got from me. And so I figured if I had 2 nights left, I could find him pizza. 3 nights, really. I reached out to Charlie's. I asked where he was going to be on the weekend. That's our pizza truck that we get pizza from every Thursday, and it's Walter's favorite night of the week. He would sit and wait and wait and wait and wait and get the crust. On his birthday, we got him pizza. We had a pizza party. He got his own piece, and the other boys did too. And so I wanted to do that for him. And so Charlie's was off for the weekend. He's opening his new standalone location, and I was kind of upset about that. So I went on the hunt, and I found pizza at the gas station locally. They make it every day. It's not any good. We got it. It was good enough. We had pizza dinner on Sunday night. We waited till Sunday night. We got a plenty of pizza. Walter ended up getting 3 pieces, I think, and all the leftover crust, and he got his pizza party. And then we said goodbye. And it was rough. And he was happy. Like, we could tell he was happy. He snored right till his last breath, just like he did every time he took a nap. And the vet, we got one final comment about his size. The vet actually said that it was very similar to putting down a horse. So it was rough. It was rough for sure, and snored right till his last breath. Had to give him extra medication to put him down. And after the first shot, he just went deeper and deeper into sleep and kept snoring louder and louder and deeper and deeper. And the vet kind of looked and went, I don't know. We waited and he was just snoring beyond belief. And then we ended up having to give him another shot. And that was it. And that was it. So now we heal. And that's why I kind of wanted to jump on today. I knew it would be hard. I knew I would do a lot of this. But I think it helps. It helps. So, guys, no closing today or anything like that. I'm just going to wrap it up. But thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every one of you. And we'll talk to you tomorrow.